Hi guys, I wanted to take a second and show you how to insert charts and graphs into your form. So in previous videos we've set up our Google form, linked it to a Google Sheet so that it will auto-populate with the data that we enter. We created this link to a Google Doc that has all of our students' names that are links to the form so that when we go to fill out data it's really easy. Now we need to look at how to use and analyze some of that data. So same thing, we're going to start out in our drive, my drive, sorry. This is the folder that we created for all of this good stuff so that it stays organized. We have used the links to enter data for our students. They've taken tests and we've entered the data, whatever else. So now we're going to go into this data response spreadsheet so that we can start looking at how to use some of the data and what we can do with it. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, the thing that's important to remember is that the reason that we added date as a question on our form is because I want to know the date that the student took this test. The timestamp records only when the form was filled out. So only when you recorded data, it records the time that that form is completed. If you don't have time to enter that data for a day or two, I don't want to use the timestamp when I entered the information. I want to use the date of the actual test, if that makes sense. So I had gone in and I just kind of entered a bunch of different scores just for the purpose of this simulation. You can see it's kind of unorganized. I've got the 6th, then the 7th, then the 5th, then the 8th, 9th, and 10th. Easy peasy to reorganize this stuff. So again, I want to organize by column B because that's the date that my student actually took the test versus column A, which was when I just got around to entering the data. So to do that, I'm going to click this little drop down and I want to sort this sheet by this column A to Z. Ta-da, it rearranged everything and all of the scores stayed with the appropriate date. It didn't change any of that. Everything reorganized by this column, which is kind of cool. So the thing to remember is that as you have more information added, as you complete more of these forms and put in more scores, it always enters it as you go down at the bottom. So it should stay organized unless, like I said, you have a test that you weren't able to enter and have to go back and do it later. Then just reorganize again, no big deal. Okay, so now that we have some data, we're going to create a chart. Here is an example of what I don't want to do. I don't want to highlight this information and create a chart using that because all the chart will have is what information is highlighted here and it won't continue to update as more data is entered. So what I want to do is highlight the columns that I want to take data on. Then it's as easy as clicking this insert chart. And then we wait because with this screen recording, I've got a serious lag time. Ta-da! It is as easy as that. So it kind of took what I had entered and guessed at what kind of a chart I might like. You can totally customize this. You can change the type of chart. So if the data that you're tracking is more appropriate for some other type of chart, a bar graph or something like that, you can absolutely change that. This one happens to work pretty well with this line graph because I can see the trend in my students' performance, which is generally kind of what I'm looking for. So you can also decide which columns you want to use. So currently it is using row 1 as a header and my column B as labels, which is perfect. So column B is my labels. You see the on the x-axis here it's got the dates and it's labeled with the date because that's what I've put right here. Then it's using row 1 over here as my headers. So you see benchmark 1, 2, and 3 are the headers for my lines. Perfect. I can change up as much of that as I want. I could take out, like I could remove this benchmark 1, if I didn't want to see it on this graph, I could just go remove and it would take it out. But I don't want to do that. So I can also come over here and go customize, and I want to change the title for this chart because the title for my chart is not benchmark 1, 2, and 3. The title for my chart is Alyssa's Data. You can change fonts, colors, whatever. It doesn't matter, but for the purpose of this, that's what we're going to do. That's as far as I'm going to take this because this looks like what I want it to look like. So I'm going to get out of this chart editor because now what I'm going to show you is that you can print this chart. So say that you have an IEP or you want to show your student how they're doing over time. You can print this picture pretty easy. So to do that, we are going to come down here to Save Image. Open this up. And you can see we've got just this chart. To print from here, we go File, Print. It's automatically put it in landscape. If it hadn't, you could toggle between the two of these and change that. I would like this to be a little bit bigger just because it's supposed to be a visual representation. So I want it to be I want it to fill the page. So scale to fit, you can see it's going to print with the title, all of our labels, our legend, and I can print this and I can give it to parents at parent-teacher conferences. I can take it to an IEP with me. I can give it to the student so that they can kind of see over time how they are performing. So that's pretty nifty. So I can add as many charts and graphs into a form as I want. Doing it this way is really, I mean, it's really quick and easy. It was one click of a button and it's completely customizable, and then you can print. When you're looking at your data, I just kind of scoot my charts out of the way. I can delete the chart and go back in anytime I want and recreate the chart. It's not a big deal. Remember, I highlighted the columns, not just this section. So as data is continued, as data is entered, it will actually update this chart in real time, which is pretty nice. So I think that covers that. That was a pretty quick one. Leave any questions you have in the comments.